What's up, PGA Tour golf addicts? David Barnett here, Pat Perry. We're the Tour Junkies, and this is Tour Junkies After Dark, presented by DraftKings. Pew, 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 pew. We're back. We weren't here last week. We had some major technical difficulties as lightning damn near struck my house, so I was out of power, and we couldn't do the show. So hopefully you guys missed us. There's probably a lot of you that did not or even noticed, but we're here and we're excited. It is late on Monday night. It is the week of the 3M Open at TPC Twin Cities in Minnesota, don't you know? And we just finished recording the podcast. Me and Pat did, the Tour Junkies podcast, which you can listen to anywhere podcasts can be found, as well as watch on YouTube. We have a YouTube channel. So if you're enjoying this lovely DraftKings video on YouTube, you can also go and check out Tour Junkies content on YouTube. It's great stuff. It's fantastic. We love golf, and we're here to talk the PGA Tour. We just had some picks, Pat and myself. I know we disagree on. There was some pretty there was some heat on the podcast.
There was some heat. There was a lot of heat. I've settled down now. I've settled down. Yeah, I feel like it. I don't know. You may get me all riled up again in this show.
We're going to give you we're going to talk about the picks we disagree on and try to hash that out. Let you guys be the judge. And we're also going to hit some DK Sportsbook picks if you fancy yourself a bet or two or three. I am going to do something in this in the show that I've never done before, Pat. I'm going to give the people a parlay to make the cut 6-pack. That's right. I'm going to give you 6 guys to make the cut on DK Sportsbook, and we're going to parlay that thing, and we're going to hit that bad boy. That's what we're going to do.
I like it. I'm excited. That's you're thinking outside the box a little bit, just using your expertise, picking cut makers. I like that. I can't wait to hear that, and I'm going to play it. I'm going to play whatever it is, even if I disagree with some of the guys. Whatever you put out there for this parlay, I will play.
I'm excited about it. I will say DraftKings does not have all the golfers on offer in the to make the cut deal. So maybe they will have some more by the time tee time comes around on Thursday. But I found 6 guys, a nice little 6-pack. I'm going to try to bring that heat every week. But for now, let's talk about it, man. Let's talk about a name that we both vehemently disagreed on, and he is at the top of the DraftKings pricing at $11,900. One of the highest prices you could possibly fit into the old mathematical equation over there on DraftKings, and that is Brooks Koepka. Now we all know, if you're a follower of Tour Junkies, that I'm a big Brooks Koepka fan. Okay, I love Brooks Koepka. I freaking love him, but Pat is willing to play him.
He is a bulldog. Not really for the school he went to, but just in general, he's a bulldog.
He's not a bulldog. He went to Florida State. Come on.
No,
man.
I know. That's why I said he's not a bulldog in the school that he went to, but just an absolute bulldog.
Is he though?
A crusher.
Like, I don't know that he is. Like, I think he's too. I love Brooks. I wouldn't say he's a bulldog. Like, he doesn't. A bulldog every now and then shows his teeth, like shows a little veracity. Is it veracity or ferocity? Veracity?
I think it's, ferocity. Ferocity.
He shows a little bit of that.
It's late.
He shows a little bit of that. And I don't think Brooks really shows that. Does he go out there and just step on your throat and kill you on the golf course? Like Bill Belichick. Like Bill Belichick will just step on your throat and run 70 points up on you, and it's your job to stop him. But it's not like, I don't get this like ferocious vibe to Bill Belichick. Like, and I don't get that with Brooks or DJ either. So I don't really know that he's a bulldog. But either way, we disagree on him this week. I'm not a fan of playing him at that price tag. I don't like enough guys in the lower end on DraftKings to play him. You apparently do. Why don't you convince me and the viewer?
So look, here's the thing. He is definitely expensive. There's no way around that. I can't defend that. I mean, the price is what it is. But I'm still okay with playing him. And here's the thing. I mean, look. The big narrative for Brooks is always that he just only cares about majors. And for the most part, that's been relatively true. I mean, he's, you look at
I'm very glad
right after the U.S. Open, he didn't play well. The two most recent tournaments that were regular tour events, he was 57th at the Travelers, and then he was T50 before that at the RBC Canadian Open. But I do like that he's had a break. He took a break after the Travelers. He's obviously checking boxes. He always does. I mean, he's one of the top players in the field, so he's going to check boxes when it comes to the stat categories. But I think that he still wants to prove that he's not just a guy that is trying to win majors. And even though the
does
most
he?
recent...
I don't know that he does. I don't think he wants to prove
he does.
that.
I think he does.
He gives a rip.
He doesn't like... Okay, so if Brooks Koepka cares what freaking, what's his name, Brandel Chambly is talking about him, then he's open about that. He gets upset when he gets he's treated like he is as far as a named player. Why do you think he wouldn't want to make it, prove everybody wrong when it comes to these other lower type events? And look, this is a good course for him. I like the Bombers this week. I think he can play well in this course. I think he can score out here. So I just feel like if there's going to be a tournament where he can turn that narrative around, it's going to be this week at the 3M Open. He's one of the studs in this field. I just believe that this will be a good week for Brooks. And look, I know the price is high, but I do like some guys in that low 7K, mid 6K range that you can fit in there. Solid players, solid cut makers with some upside that you can put in there in your lineup. So I do like Brooks. I think, I'm not always, I was big on fading DJ when he was over 12K. There's something about that 12K number that just concerns me a little bit. But I'm okay with playing Brooks this week in tournament lineups. I'm not going to play him in cash. You just can't get a good lineup there. But for a week where you can take a risk on a lot of guys, like we had last week, where you had a Nate Lashley winning, you had Doc Redman finish second, all cheap guys. I think this is another type tournament where you can do that and then take a guy like Brooks Koepka, who's just a solid top player in the world. I think he can win you a GPP this week when it comes to DraftKings. So I am going to play him.
I agree with you. This is going to be another event. It's a birdie fest. It's going to be a slaughter out there of TPC Twin Cities. Going to be a lot of scoring. That does open it up to a lot of different type of players, which is yes, I can see how you can use that and say, well, then I'll play Brooks and I'll go down, in the lower range and I'll get a lower end type player who can pop. Yes. But, I don't think that. Again, I need to preface, I'm a huge Brooks fan. Huge Brooks fan.
We know. Anybody that listens to the show knows that.
Yeah, I don't think that Brooks honestly, intentionally gives less Fs when he plays a non-major. But I think there's just something about it. I just think that it just happens in his body. It's like it's like when you're going through the big puberty in 8th grade, 9th grade, and the bell's about to ring, and something is happening as a boy, as a young male down there that just starts happening, and the bell's about to ring, and you can't help it. You're trying to think about the national anthem or baseball stats or whatever it is that you have to say to get to calm down, but it's just something in your body happens. It's uncontrollable. So you end up having to walk out of the hall with your book bag over yourself, just try to protect yourself. I just don't know that he can control how little he gets up for events like this. So for that reason, at 11-9, I don't think it's worth the play. I just don't. I think that there's also a little bit of an ownership edge here as well, because we've seen the last three tournaments he's played in. I will be interested to see where the ownership falls, but at the Travelers, he was 12.8. At the U.S. Open, he was 11.7. He would have been a fantastic play there. Obviously, that's a major, so we know he's typically played better in those type tournaments. And then at the RBC Canadian, again, when he was one of the highest priced guys, if not the highest priced guy, he was at 12.5% owned. So I think that, you're going to get an ownership
edge for sure. I feel like with Brooks, we'll see. DJ, I thought last week he was over 12K. I thought he was going to be pretty low owned based off of that that price, and he wasn't. He wasn't,
Yeah.
and he killed a lot of people. So we'll see with Brooks, but I do like him this week.
Hey, if Brooks begins to care and come Saturday, he's got a chance. When he smells blood in the water, he's going to kill you.
He's going to, he will.
He will Nate Lashley this field is what he will do. It's going to be unbelievable. So there you go. Any other play? Let's go through at least one more player that we both don't feel too good about. I called out Brooks.
So yeah, I'm not. There's a couple guys in here that I'm a little bit concerned with, and one of them you liked, and that was Tony Finau. Not coming in a good recent form at all. He's missed his last 3 cuts. When you look at the stats for him, I mean, he's 143rd in driving accuracy. He's 63rd in DraftKings scoring, which we talked about on the show would be pretty important this week. They're definitely going to score on this course. He's 125th in the field in proximity. I'm just not a big fan of Finau. Look, in general, he's always trended up. And I think he was trending up early in the season for me, but I just feel like he's in a slump. Not a big fan of playing him, but you do like him this week. So I need to be convinced if you think he should be in your lineups, why that is based off of the form and everything else that's out there.
First of all, I like the more balanced approach in DFS on DraftKings this week. So obviously he fits that pretty well. It remains to be seen at this point, recording the show, what his ownership will be, but it's not going to be ridiculous because of the 3 consecutive missed cuts. I will say this, a couple things on Tony Finau. Number one, Tony Finau is not a great putter, but he's the best putter he can be on bent grass surfaces. That is proven over his career. In fact, the last bent grass surface that he saw was, I believe, the Masters. Actually, I'm sorry, Charles Schwab. I believe the Memorial is a bent grass surface. I'm not positive. But if it is, he finished runner-up at the Memorial, which was the last time he hasn't missed a cut at the end of May. And then if that's not it, the last time he saw bent grass was the Masters at Augusta National, where he finished 5th. He does putt better on bent grass. He's not a good putter. But bent grass is a pretty true surface. It is what it is. When you see the break is the break. It's not tricky like POA. It's not super grainy like Bermuda. So in terms of Tony's glaring weak spot historically, which is putting, I think this is the best surface for him. Now, that being said, his form in 2019 is not great. That includes a lot of ball striking. However, he is checking the box in a couple of categories. He's still gaining plenty of strokes off the tee. He ranks highly in this field in strokes gained off the tee. We know he's a bomber. You said you like bombers. Along with that, he's actually 9th in this field over the last 12 rounds in par 5 scoring, which I think is going to be important here. I think the ownership's going to be suppressed a little bit. But here's another thing I like about Tony Finau. On DraftKings, he's $100 more expensive than Victor Hovland, the Oklahoma State young phenom who everybody loves. He's a great dude. Seems like a genuine, nice human being. Out of Norway, good, talented young kid. Checks a lot of boxes as well. Been playing great. Doesn't have his PGA Tour card. He's just getting a lot of exemptions here. But he's priced $100 cheaper than Tony Finau. Yet, if you look at odds, in a tournament matchup, Tony Finau is heavily favored to beat Victor Hovland in a tournament matchup when you look at most Vegas books. And that is he's at minus 135 and Hovland is at plus 115. That is implied odds to win that matchup over 57% of the time. That's a lot if you're betting sports. If you're betting these matchups, that's a lot. So he's only $100 more expensive on DraftKings. He's probably going to be lower owned than Victor Hovland. He's missed 3 straight cuts, I get it, but I think he gives you some ownership leverage, and Vegas seems to like Tony Finau. I think that's enough. I think it's worth a shot in tournaments to play Tony Finau.
Yeah.
Does that convince you at all?
I mean, I will say, in the podcast you did get me thinking about Finau, but you mentioned Hovland, and that was another one that I want to touch on real quick before we get into some odds. You know, these new guys on tour, these we say young guns, but the guys that are literally right out of college with Hovland, Wolf and Morikawa. I mean,
Wolf
they've been interesting. Wolf.
Huh?
Wolf.
Dude, you gotta work on that.
Wolf.
You gotta work on the L. I'm telling you, it sounds like Wolf.
Either way.
It's Wolf. Like, you hear me say wolf?
Wolf.
There you go.
Woof. 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 Like woof, like a dog. Either way, these guys are interesting to me because a lot of people want to play them, and I get it. I understand it. Hovland was literally up in the 18 to 20% ownership range last week in GPPs, which I just don't quite get. These are guys that do not have experience on tour. They have literally played 4 or 5 events, and for Hovland's case and Wolf, his case,
yep.
They've only played literally a couple events where money was on the line. Don't forget, people. These guys don't automatically have their tour card. They are not automatically on tour. They have to actually make money and make some points in order to get their tour card. So a lot of people want to play him. I think you even mentioned Hovland on the show as being a cash play for you, and I just don't know if they're worth that risk yet. I'm just not on board with those guys. And look, they're going to check, especially Hovland. His stats are pretty special. His stats are ridiculous, yeah. And he seems special. But I just don't know if I'm ready to play him as a cash type play. I mean, why would you look at him as in cash as opposed to like dropping down to like a Streelman at 8,900 or something like that?
Oh, I would totally play Streelman in cash. But I like. I mean, he's got 2 top 15 finishes in his first 3 starts, or in his last 3 starts, one of which was the U.S. Open. So I agree with you.
But do you think he's used to the tour life? I mean, playing event after event, I get it. Practice rounds, all that kind of stuff. Media stuff. There's a lot that goes into these guys are not used to that yet, and that's why I'm not all about it. Now, tournaments, yeah, I understand it. I'll play it. I don't like them though at that high ownership. But this is a new lifestyle for these guys. I just don't think people understand that when they're looking at playing them week in and week out.
All right, let's talk about some DK Sportsbook stuff. Before I hit you with my parlay, I want to give you 3 outright winners, and it's the law firm, the Triple H law firm of Hadwin, Hughes, and Homa. Okay, Adam Hadwin, 55-1. This is being played in Minnesota. I said on the podcast, Minnesota is essentially Canada to me. I live in Augusta, Georgia. It's 11 o'clock at night right now. It's still 100 degrees outside. If you live in Minnesota, I basically assume you're Canadian. Adam Hadwin, Canadian. This is a home game for him. I'm going to go ahead and say that. He's a great ball striker, checks the boxes in a lot of areas. I like the 55-1 number. Mackenzie Hughes, a guy you mentioned on the podcast. I know you like him as well. Another Canadian, playing very well right now. Sneaky good right now is Mackenzie Hughes. And a former PGA Tour winner. Now, he won in the fall swing season last year, the year before, I believe.
2 years ago, RSM Classic.
Hasn't won yet, or hasn't won since then. But proven PGA Tour winner. This is a weak field, 90-1. I think that's interesting. The last member of this law firm, Max Homa, friend of the podcast, 175-1 on DraftKings, yet just won at Quail Hollow for the Wells Fargo Championship just a few weeks ago. A much stronger field, a much more difficult golf course. And Homa didn't play well last week, I get that, but he checked some boxes, and I think in a field like this, 175-1 for Homa. Actually, he did make the cut. He just didn't finish good last week. Missed the cut the week before at the Travelers. But 175-1, I like that for a guy who just won on the tour a couple weeks ago and has the skill set to play well here in this weak field where anybody can win, a lot like Nate Lashley last week. So who you got for outrights, and then I'll hit you with the parlay.
All right, so I'll give you a few here, and the shortest odds I'm going to go with are Patrick Reed at 30-1. We saw him play extremely well this past week at the Rocket Mortgage, and he's been trending. So he hasn't won since the Masters, which is crazy to me. I think he's ready to win. I think it's time. I feel like he's due. So I do like Patrick Reed at 30-1. Also, another guy who's just been trending in the right direction all year long has been contending, and that is Rory Sabbatini at 45-1. I think that is a good play as well. And then Scott Piercy at 55-1. I think is another guy that you could see has played really well this year. I like that. Longer odds, a guy that's just been really terrible lately, but I just feel like he could hit, and this is a gut play, but that's Luke List at 110-1. I think that he's a long hitter of the ball. This is a course where he could if he can just just hit it halfway decent and putt well. He could do well here at 110 to 1.
So
So I do like that as well.
Right,
the longest shot I do have is Wyndham Clark at 150 to 1. I think that's a good play. We've seen him contend earlier in the year. I think it was the Honda Classic. So I like Wyndham Clark. And then one other one that I'll give you that I like, and that is Joey Garber, but in the to finish top 10 at 22 to 1. I think that. Joey Garber, he's trending well. He's got good recent form. So not to win. I'm sure I'd have it. I think it was like 175 or 200 to 1 to win. I don't like that as much as I like 22 to 1 to finish top 10 for Joey Garber. So there you go. And I'm anxious to hear this parlay pick you've got there, DB.
All right, I'm gonna turn the hat around. We got to get serious business here. All right, 6-way parlay, DB's 6-pack parlay to make the cut. All they have to do is make the cut. Now, this parlay pays out on DraftKings currently, based on current odds, at basically 9 to 1. Basically, plus 899. That's what it's paying out at right now. I would love to have a little longer. I would love to have a little longer odds there, but they're not. We got to add more players to the pool. DK. Here we go. All right, I'm gonna go Nick Watney. Love him here. I think he's a cash play. Colin Morikawa, one of the young guys, but he's been as good, if not better, than Victor Hovland.
The most consistent too, I think.
Young guy. Again, all you're talking about is making the cut. Scott Piercy, who you just mentioned at 55 to 1. I like Piercy a lot here. Adam Hadwin, who I already mentioned. Kevin Streelman, who we've also mentioned. Streels is a lock to make the cut. I mean, he's a lock. He's been playing fantastic golf lately. And then finally, a guy who's been playing pretty sneaky good here. No top 10s, but sneaky good. He's a bomber. If the course calls for distance, he can do it. Jimmy Walker. So my 6-pack is Nick Watney, Colin Morikawa, Scott Piercy, Adam Hadwin, Jimmy Walker, and Kevin Streelman. If all 6 of those guys make the cut, you get it at plus 899 right now on DK for a little parlay action. I like that. A little parlay. A little poor man's bet. That's what I'm talking about.
I like it. I like it. I'm writing
Anything else to add? Oh, you're writing it down? Good, thank you.
Yeah, I'm writing it down.
As you should.
Well, that's all I got.
Good. I'm glad that's all you have. Next week, we will be back for the John Deere Classic. In 2 weeks, the Open Championship from Royal Portrush in Northern Ireland should be a good one. It's the final major of the season. We're pumped about that one. All right. May your screens be green over on DraftKings. Thanks for watching. TJ After Dark. See ya.